Hi, all right. So you have me until we unveil the winners of the hackathon. So yes, what exactly is the AR cloud and why should you care is the burning question today. So quite simply, it will be the enabler for our augmented lives. You're welcome for this image. What it is essentially is a digital twin of the entire planet. So I thought what I'd do is kind of walk you through some of the data, which is always important, show you how the market around particularly AR and VR are shaping up. So we in the industry, I started in VR, kind of expanded to AR, spatial computing, XR, whatever you want to call it. But we're very impatient, right, for this technology to evolve. But the reality is once you sort of look at the sort of the general kind of trajectory of the evolution of new technology, we're where we should be, right? It just feels slow to a lot of us, especially those of us who are kind of dabbling back in the 90s and early 2000s. And so the immersive market, and these numbers are all over the map. I've seen, for 2022 projections, from 18 billion to 25 billion. Point is, we don't really know. It's all hinging on the hardware and the form factor, and that's been one of the challenges for us. But mobile AR it's taking off. The interesting thing is, though, that consumers just don't care. They don't care about AR. They don't really care about VR because we haven't really come up with the way to engage them in the right way. Because mobile AR, yes, it's great. In theory, we're going to where they are. They have their mobile devices. And yes, you can do very sort of rudimentary tasks using a mobile device, but this is not a good UI, right? Sort of holding your phone up and seeing these digital objects. But interestingly, too, the most popular use case for AR right now is social, right? So social media, it's face filters. So again, very, very rudimentary. But what's interesting about this is that we're sort of building this community of creators, right? So everybody is a creator, and they're sharing their work, through Facebook, through Instagram. But again, we're barely scratching the surface because this is just sort of fun, very lightweight experiences. We haven't really gotten to the meat of what augmented reality is going to be. Augmented reality is the next computing platform. But this is sort of this is just the tip of the iceberg. It shows you sort of this nascent technology, but I'd like to paint a little picture for you of where it's going. 5G is going to be a big piece of this, right? It's going to be the enabler for the digital twin, for the AR cloud, and it's coming. Again, very slow rollout, but I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, it's full. It's not full on my screen, but connections will surpass 1 billion by 2023. And the tipping point estimate, I think this is from Intel, within a decade, the global media industry, it'll be a $1.3 trillion industry, which is remarkable. And it's hard to imagine how we're going to draw a line from here to there. So where are we now? So consumer, again, consumer AR, mobile AR, design applications. I don't know if you've seen, IKEA, you can scan your room, you can move furniture around. I actually just bought something on Amazon. It said, would you like to see this in your room? I was in a hotel room, but sure. Again, very, very rudimentary use cases. But again, I think we need to understand what those interactions are going to look like with consumers. What do they want to see? How do they want to use this technology? Retail, Sephora actually did a makeup app, which I really like because you can take a selfie with beautiful makeup on your face, which I never do because I never do it right. So this is a perfect way to make sure that everyone looks perfect. Magic mirror, you're going to see that rolling out in retail stores where you're able to actually try clothes on without even getting out of what you're wearing, or you can bring in 1 or 2 items and it'll make recommendations for you using AI. And then marketing, marketing has been sort of trying to find ways to engage consumers. It's been sort of fits and starts, but there have been a couple of good ones. This was a particularly good one. by Pepsi done in the UK. They took over a bus stop and they put glass, and it was augmented on the far side of the glass. And so there were a few different experiences. One was a tiger walking down the street. The other was some sort of multi-tentacled beast bursting through the sidewalk. Here you can see sort of Space Invaders. If you have an hour to kill, there's some actually very funny YouTube videos. And then what's better than, sitting down with a bottle of wine and having it speak to you? These are all sort of augmented wine labels. The one on the left is 19 crimes. Each of the 19 criminals comes to life and shares their story of course, how they were innocent of whatever crime they were accused of. Entertainment, again, sort of tip of the iceberg, but we're going to start to see these experiences. We already have Pokemon Go. We'll see these experiences kind of grow in scale, especially with multiplayer. And esports, virtual reality, I think, will actually be sort of a driver here, because you can actually go into an esports tournament as a spectator, right? And the players can't see you, but you can live right in the action. Of course, enterprise, which is what my focus is. Enterprise use cases, plenty of use cases in warehouses, being able to show schematics and see where there might be issues on the floor, sort of endless use cases on in the industrial side. Remote technical assistance, again, you don't want your experts flying all over the world. So this is a way for them to actually see, using the outward-facing cameras on these devices, in real time, everything that a field technician is seeing. They can work with them in real time. They can annotate. That entire interaction can be recorded, and then using AI and computer vision, the next time a field tech is in front of that same situation, the first line of defense is the recording, right? So it's sort of this built-in efficacy mechanism. And of course, design, especially collaborative design and especially automotive, where right now they're sending these very expensive, unwieldy bucks back and forth. And this is a way for them all the design teams around the world to actually be in the same environment at the same time. And Bell Helicopters actually did a few experiments, and they were able to increase their productivity by 10 times, right, on their iteration cycle, which is incredible. Surgical overlays, Microsoft HoloLens just got a win and had an FDA approval of one of their solutions, actually in OR, to help physicians look at live patient scans during surgery. It's a little controversial. And of course, the military for training. And of course, I'm sure you've all read about the Microsoft almost $500 million contract with the military. This is a big piece of this. So we have the opportunity to really work with data from the inside out in both a VR and an AR environment. But this is not the future. All of this is here. So what's coming and what's interesting about the AR cloud is it's not just the AR cloud, right? This digital twin of the entire planet. It's this tsunami of exponential technologies that's coming, all of it at once. And we are racing towards the future. So here's a technology tree. One of the notable things about the technology tree is we're missing probably at least half, right? There's so much coming at once. So the way I think it's important to consider, right? In some way or another, we're all sellers and we're all buyers here, right? Whether it's APIs, whether it's cloud services, whether it's edge compute, whether it's telco, data centers, it doesn't matter. What we have to be looking at is all of these technologies in concert, right? The convergence of all of these technologies and the solutions for the workplace of the future and the workforce of the future. Because we are all now alchemists. We have to divine the solutions for the future, right? And we have to help our customers understand what that future looks like by understanding not only their business, but this multitude of technology. So I like this quote, digital transformation today is like throwing round dice with no numbers, right? Because we're doing the same things over and over again. The digital twin, a good example would be in this room. There might be 2,000, 200,000 even, digital experiences anywhere in this room. So who gets to see what and when and why? And that's just one consideration with one technology. So how do we innovate? We need to work backwards from the future, right? Start at your destination. So when you're talking to customers, I talk to Fortune 500 companies all the time. And this isn't the time to just do the same thing we're doing faster, right? And to be that much more productive. This is the opportunity to look at what technology can bring us. What does 5G bring us? What does the AR cloud bring us? What does virtual reality training bring us? And then how can we fundamentally rethink how we do business? And if we look at it that way, the possibilities are endless. So think bigger. Because IoT is no longer IoT. It's IoE. It's the Internet of everything. All the machines are going to be talking to each other, and we're going to be talking to the machines. Big data, no longer big data, massive data. Right? How do we parse it? What are the important data points? Right? Virtual reality has a completely different set of unstructured data. Right? We have biometric data. We have gaze. Right? We know exactly what you're doing in those virtual environments. How do we take that data and wire it into your existing data analytics? And we need to start thinking about this in a much bigger way. Everything is shared. So 5G, we think of it as being able to deliver vast scale with content, right? And it's where all of these invisible digital experiences are going to live in this landscape. We're going to move seamlessly in and out of it. But the other piece of it is that it's going up too, right? Because all of this is being shared, recorded and shared and sent back up. So really 5G is going to be a two-way street. And we're going to be recording to the AR cloud consistently. Because we are all living out loud, whether we like it or not. So think smaller. All right, that's contradictory. Why am I saying that? I'm going to show you 4 companies that are doing really interesting things, all of them around building the architecture for the AR cloud. So this is a company called Sixdai. Basically what they do is you use your mobile device and they create a mesh of the environment. And actually the more you scan, the more lightweight the mesh becomes. What this enables, now it's a lot of game developers, but you can start to see business applications. It allows the physics of an object, a digital object, to behave the way it's supposed to, right? So you get occlusion. If it goes behind a sofa. If it falls off the table, it's going to bounce, right? So this seems insignificant, but it's actually a big deal. It's complex, right? It's what Pokemon Go never had. They have it now, but it was complicated. And this company is one of the companies that I think is leading the charge. So then there's another company called Geo Network. So they essentially have taken a block of IPv6 and they have gridded the planet down to the centimeter. And what that does is it offers volumetric spatial control. So essentially you can control mobile behaviors in a 3D environment. But beyond that, they allow spatial registry. So they have a dot place, GTLD, which means that you can actually go in the same way you used to, you register your web domain. Now you can register a physical place. And then they're following the same kind of hierarchical structures of network protocols and ownership. So this is another key component in how do we manage who gets what experience when. And then LiDAR for autonomous vehicles. There's a company called AI, A-E-Y-E. And essentially what they do is they use AI to replicate the way the eye sees. So what they're doing is when they're taking these massive kind of LiDAR files, they're dynamically discarding things they already know. And what they already know is what lives in the AR cloud, right? The digital twin. So any fixed object, right? A building, a tree, a stop sign. However, trees, stop signs, maybe one day the stop sign's like this, somebody hits it, now it's like this. Sorry, officer, I have no idea what happened there. But we can use the data that they are discarding, because they don't need it. They're only looking for anomalies or a kid with a ball or some dangerous situation. But that data can then be used to true up the AR cloud, right? Because they're literally throwing it away. So these are the types of solutions that you have to read between the lines. So when you're thinking about your business and your customers, and again, I know we have a lot of people, developers, a lot of on the API side, and this may not seem relevant, but it's the type of thinking, it's connecting the dots that your customers may not be able to, because large companies have blind spots. And that's why I'm saying think smaller, because some of these smaller companies they're living right in their lane, but they're solving specific problems. And they can be the key to the way you present a vision for the future for your customers. And the last one, human-centric identity. So we're going to have our avatar, right? Our avatar is going to be our digital representative in the digital landscape. And we're going to have a public persona and a private persona. And our public persona is going to be very much like we're living out loud now on our Facebook and Instagram, our fabulous Facebook lives. All right, so, but then we're going to have a private persona, and that's actually the way that we can take back our data. We love to complain about Facebook and Google having all of our data, but I think we don't understand what it's going to take to manage all of our data. And whoever builds the UI for that is going to be a legitimate unicorn, not some of the ones that are tanking right now on Wall Street. But that's a big opportunity, right? So we'll be able to switch on and off permissions. We'll be in control. We will even allow brands to market to us if they're willing to pay us for our data, right? So there's a direct communication. As soon as they stop delivering relevant content, we shut down the permissions. Guess how they'll pay us? Crypto, in microtransactions. Right? So this is not at all how we work today. So this is how I think we have to think about businesses in the future and how we want to work and how we want to do anything. So the magic verse. This is, you've probably seen this, Magic Leap, which are hopefully coming out with a consumer version of their augmented reality glasses. This is, I think, a very good depiction of the AR cloud, because you have the real world, you have the digital world, and then you're going to have layers of context, right? So you're going to have, mobility, energy, water, health and wellness, communication, entertainment, and then we'll even have personal layers on top of that, right, where our avatars will live and our data will live. And this is just a few of the layers, right? It goes on, it's infinite. So what comes next? Again, it's really important to look at all the technology we have available to us and think of it as ingredients in a bigger recipe, right? So we need to start thinking about what is the future of work, play, education, entertainment, identity, value, commerce, data security, everything. What is the future of us, right? How do we want to work? How do we want to play? How do we want to learn, entertain? It's a big job, right? But we all have to kind of engage and rethink. We have to learn how to think in these terms. Because 5G is coming, right? It's going to be a slow rollout, but it's the enabler for all of these technologies to deliver this content at scale, store the content at scale, split rendering constructs, edge compute, right? All of this, these all work in concert. So I think of sort of three pillars to the evolution of AR and where it's really gonna hit its tipping point. So first we have the form factor. We need the magic wayfarers, right? We need the glasses that we wanna wear. And Michael from Bose, who was actually supposed to speak today, Bose actually has the glasses that you wanna wear because they look great on everyone. They don't have the visual component yet, but the sound is beautiful. You do look a little bit crazy because I take calls on it and it doesn't look like you have any device in your ear, so you're just kind of talking and I talk with my hands. But that's coming, right? So you start to think snap, focals by north, HoloLens, that sort of visual component with spatial audio. Once we have those, that's number one. Then the content needs to have context. Where am I? What do I want to see? What's my intent? Right? And then the permissions that I've allowed. So I want to see a certain type of experience. I want to get information about what's around me. And then I may even enable permissions for a discovery mechanism. Like I may want to see digital graffiti, or I may want to see reviews for restaurants around me, right? And those will be permission-based. The next piece is utility, right? It has to be useful. We're so stuck on this idea of a killer app. It's not a killer app. This is about creating a lifestyle, this augmented lifestyle, so that it gets us off of our phones and into the next generation of wearables, so that, for God's sake, we can look up and see what's around us. Like, at least my kids will ignore me looking right at me in the future. And then it has to be fun, right? This was amazing. This was 1 million people live in Fortnite for a Marshmallow concert. So the appetite for these virtual worlds is out there. So we need to build for how we will live tomorrow, and work tomorrow, and play tomorrow, and learn tomorrow. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I ran through this quickly because I also want to find out who won. So if you want to geek out some more, that's my email, and thank you so much.